He willed his way through it. Little kick forward. Houli to kick a goal. He does. Big that was.
Ramadan's a very, very special time in the Islamic calendar, and it's for me, it's basically using this time to turn back and I guess to get out of certain habits that I've got in the other 11 months that I've been living, to get out of these habits and to come out and be a better person. It's a month of worship where Muslims are given the opportunity to, I guess, turn back to God, and you know, if you're lacking in certain areas, it's a month where you focus on your worshipping, and it is a month where we dedicate a little bit more time to going to the mosques, to, I guess, paying more in charity, to being righteous, to being patient. There's many different things that I guess Ramadan have benefits to.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Saifullah Akram. I'm the national and the Queensland head of YMB, Young Muslim Brothers, and I'll be your host for this evening. I'd like to welcome all of you to tonight's event being hosted by YMB, the youth division of IPDC. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our guest, Brother Bachar Houli. So first of all, to commence our program officially, as always, we will start with a recitation from the Holy Quran. And inshallah, for this, I'd like to invite Brother Asif Ali, the Secretary of YMB New South Wales, to recite a few verses from the Quran, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. جزاكم الله خير.
وإياكم إن شاء الله.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Asif. So, Alhamdulillah, we are very much honored to have our brother Bachar with us tonight. As many of you already know, he is our very own Muslim AFL star. He currently plays for the AFL Club Richmond and has played 181 games for them, prior to this having played for Essendon with 26 games, with a total number of about over 200 games, alhamdulillah. He's a two-time premiership winner and is the first Muslim to have won a premiership. Now, before I hand over to my co-host, Saad Kapanik, for the Q&A session. So Saad is the president of YMB Victoria. First of all, I would like to ask Brother Bachar to say a few initial words, inshallah.
نعم جزاك الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May the peace and blessings be upon his final messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It's always an honor being amongst good company. It's not physical, of course. SubhanAllah, obviously due to restrictions, we've had to seek for different alternatives. But alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, we can still reach out to each other, keep each other motivated, inshallah. So yeah, thanks for having me, and inshallah we can share an experience or two, and hopefully can motivate the youth, particularly during these very tough times that we live in.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Bashar. So with that, I'll hand over to Brother Saad to take us over through some questions that's been put forward by our youth, inshallah. So yeah, over to you, Saad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Saifullah. And it's an honor, Brother Bashar, to have you with us, especially the fact that it's, you know, doing these hard times. So all the best, inshallah. Let's aim to inspire as many people as we can, inshallah. So, Bismillah. The first question I have: as a Muslim footy player, what cultural challenges have you come across? How did you overcome them? And what recommendations do you have for our youth in regard to identity?
Yeah, subhanAllah, it's always a great question, especially living in a country that obviously Islam is not the main religion. So it's always a minority practice that we obviously go about our business. And subhanAllah, as a young man growing up, I remember at the age of 16, for me, I grew up as a very shy young lad, as they say. And under 16s, I represented Victoria in the state championships in the football competition. And I was captain for that team. And subhanAllah, up until that time, I was, stepping to the side behind the club rooms, praying, and always, shy to bring up about my true identity, the person I am as a Muslim. It wasn't until that point of time when I was rooming with two other players who obviously were non-Muslim at the time, still non-Muslim, of course. It was a bit tough. What do? Do you keep stepping out of the hotel room to go and perform your prayers, or do you, have this honest conversation with them? But I did, and I felt like I had the respect already at that time, being the captain of the team. And I sat him down, and I must admit it was a very nervous time for me. Didn't know what sort of response I was going to get, but alhamdulillah, I sat him down. I said, this is who I am, and I pray 5 times a day, and this is what a Muslim does. And this is the first time they ever heard anything about this sort of faith. Mind you, there were 16-year-old young boys as well. And they said, go ahead, do what you got to do. Is it okay if we watch? I said, yeah, no problem. So subhanAllah, did my thing, finished. They found it real peaceful. Obviously the first time they ever see some sort of act. SubhanAllah, from there, that was a turning point in my life. I grew so much in confidence, and I started to be proud of my identity. Just everywhere I went, I wasn't shy to ask for a prayer room, because it was part of my values, I guess, my Islamic identity. And as the years went on, I grew more stronger from this perspective, from the Islamic perspective. And the higher you go in the ranks, sometimes you can feel a little bit reserved because you're not knowing how people would respond, and they'll take it. Especially when I walked into the system, the AFL system, being a young kid at the age of 18, and then looking up to players who are 30 years old and guys that have been playing for 250 games or were champions of the game, trying to walk into an environment and still maintain my identity. It is challenging, especially when they ask you, what are you doing over the weekend? Come over my joint, or let's go out to this bar, whatever it may be. Because, at the end of the day, it was embedded in the Australian culture where you go out and enjoy a drink and get up to the nightlife. And, we don't have to go into too much detail. You guys know exactly what we're talking about. But for me, initially, it was all about making excuses. I was busy, family, whatever it is. And it wasn't until like mid-year that year, we had like an information session about certain players. So it was Indigenous round, and all the Indigenous players stood up in the meeting and spoke a little bit, 3 minutes about their tribe they came from. And Kevin Sheedy was my coach at the time, and he said, how about you get up and speak about your culture and your way of life? Because it's, I think he goes, it's worthy of people, listening about it. And subhanAllah, I stood up and spoke about the basics of Islam as you do, the 5 pillars of Islam. And from there, it created a conversation. So alhamdulillah, from there, things became a little bit smooth, and the topics always came up, obviously, so you've never, like, excuse me for saying these sort of terminology, but it's the reality we live in is life. Being a footballer, for them, it's all about going out nightlife, partying, drinking, women, etc. And they said to me, I said, "Oh, so what? Like, you don't like sleep with women? You've never done it before?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I've never done it." I could have easily lied and said, "Yeah, of course I do it," but whatever. But I was true to my identity. I said, "No, I've never. I'm pure. My Islam teaches me to be pure until marriage." And I'm sure all religions teach that, but I choose to follow my way of life, and I'm very happy with it. It's finally start to grow so much respect, and then conversations open up. You start to feel really comfortable, and then sky's the limit, man. So subhanallah. Now today, probably the last 4 or 5 years from making the move from Essendon to Richmond, there's if anything gets in my way, I just subhanallah, I'm so proud of my identity that whatever it may be, if there's a function with alcohol and that, I can't go. I'm happy to do other things that haven't got alcohol at the event to substitute. But the great thing is that everyone understands and everyone respects. But a word of advice to my brothers and sisters out there is that if you're looking for this respect word characteristic, it's not easy to achieve. Like you've got to earn it. You have to earn it. The good old saying, you got to earn the respect. You can't just simply go out and buy this word respect from the shop. You have to physically go out there and earn it within the people and your peers. So that's my advice to everyone, to use wisdom with the way you approach certain things. Don't go to people and say, "Oh, I'm a Muslim. I pray 5 times a day. I eat halal food. I do this. I do that," and make it sound like this is like a brutal deen. Rather, it's a compassionate deen. It's a deen of love, of peace, of mercy. This is what people need to hear. So, and the best way to do that is through your character, through using respect, through using words of wisdom, hikmah, we call it in Arabic. So I feel like I've kind of I've done well in that area, and inshallah, subhanallah, it's something that I'm really proud of in terms of how I've handled myself, particularly in the last probably 5 years or so, where I've been very, very, very stern with my values, with my Islamic values. So, alhamdulillah.
All right, alhamdulillah, beautiful. Especially what you said about identity, that's very important, especially for me because I'm also in uni, so I come across this a lot as well myself. So, alhamdulillah, based on what you've said, I've also understood that people usually want to hear about it anyways. So, alhamdulillah, the opportunity is there, inshallah. This next question actually resonates with me a lot because recently my workouts have been a bit if in there because of the lockdown. So, subhanAllah, I've had to substitute a lot of my workouts with Stephen Amell's functional strength stuff. So, the next question is essentially, how do you balance footy and training specifically during Ramadan?
Yeah, subhanAllah, this year it's been a different year this year. Previously I've been at the football club playing during this time of the year, and I always like to recall this time of the year as my best football of the year. The month of Ramadan, there's so much barakah in it, blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows me to play my best football. But this year's been different. It's been an absolute blessing, subhanAllah, being able to not worry about the pressures of a game, about going to training. Training was fine in terms of Ramadan, and that previously it's been really good. My club is very, very understanding. If I feel like I'm not up to certain things at certain times, they just said do what you have to, and I think that came from the respect that I've kind of gained over time. Where if they ask me to do something, I do it. I never go back to the club after the off season fat, overweight, skin folds are high. Always come back. I meet all expectations. I train really hard. I'm a guy that I guess that is a workaholic. When it comes to training, I really push the boundaries. So the respect is there. and they know that I'm not going to simply take a day off training because I'm lazy, or, you know, if anything, I'm looking for any excuse to be at the club. But subhanAllah, I've gained a relationship with the football club that they're very, very understanding. When it comes to Ramadan time, they, on the front foot, you know, what do you want us to do? Whatever works for you, you do it. Just inform us, you know, so we know exactly where you're going. And even to that stage, like I'll go out of my way to tell them that, oh, I'm going to leave a little bit early, or, you know, I'm going to stay at the club a little bit longer. They just say, just do what you have to. I guess it comes from the respect. But, you know, this year's been a little bit different with isolation to an extent. I don't, you know, to be honest, I didn't really call it isolation. For heaven's sake, you go out to the streets and you see the people there infested. I went for a bike ride today, subhanAllah. I know the restrictions have eased a little bit here in Victoria. But I went for a bike ride, not nice long 45-minute bike ride at about 2:30 p.m. And, you know, the streets were infested, especially down the beach. There were just people all over, and so-called social distancing. You know, it doesn't really exist to an extent. So yeah, it hasn't really been a time of isolation. I guess what it has is just that you're not really at your workplace, which has been a blessing for me, because I've got to spend this quality time during Ramadan at home with my family. I prefer about the masjid, but the masjid is not there at the moment. So it's, you know, you've got to build self-motivation, which, you know, I rely on self-motivation. I'm massive on high motivation, my self-motivation. You don't get to where you get to from a football perspective if you're not self-motivated. You know, I mean, you can only go so far without, you know, having that self-motivation. So, alhamdulillah, when it comes to deen and practicing deen, it's there. Alhamdulillah, you know, it's, I think I call myself a consistent worshipper. You know, I'm not a guy that will, you know, obviously we'll read 100 pages one day, next day read one page, or not read it for another week. You know, I'm talking about the Quran here. I like to set a good consistency about the way I go about things in life, and nothing different to deen. Obviously, Ramadan, it steps up a little bit because the reward of it is very high, and particularly in the last blessed nights of Ramadan, the last 10 nights, where subhanAllah, everything steps up, tahajjud, you know, tilawat the Quran, supplication, you know, all these type of things. Sadaqah is another one. So alhamdulillah, it's there. But in terms of when it comes to training, I just go about my business normal. We've got a program that we run by. So the club sends us out an individual program, football program, running program, weights program, and then everything else just to top up, like going for walks, bike rides, boxing sessions and stuff like that. So look, I'm 32 years old. I know exactly what my body needs. I'll run 3 times a week, and I've got a specific program that I run by. And I'll do it during Ramadan. You know, whether they're 7, 8, 11K sessions, I still do them. And I'm strong about this, subhanAllah. And I just want to show people that you can still train and work really hard during Ramadan, because the body, you don't realize what the body can go through until you actually put it through the test. And I've definitely put it through the test. So alhamdulillah, I've been very active. And on my off days, I just go for a nice, you know, an hour walk with my young kids as well. So alhamdulillah, it's been a good time.
All right, very good. Alhamdulillah. It seems that, subhanallah, most of what you do seems to be based around the values that you live by. So I want to ask, what values do you live by, and what values do you recommend the youth to focus on, inshallah?
Yeah, subhanAllah, I never really thought about specific values, to be quite honest. I just live my life. I live my life according to the practices of Islam. And I don't want you guys, you know, to think that I'm this big sheikh and guy that doesn't make any mistakes, and I'm this guy that's full of perfection. Absolutely not. Far from. Astaghfirullah. But what I do is I just live life to the best of my ability, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, as best as I can. I'm not saying I'm 100%, but, you know, it's just, subhanAllah, I value Islamic principles, number one, and everything else comes underneath. And in fact, Islamic principles, so practicing your deen and following the practices of our beloved Prophet ﷺ, allows you to excel not only in football, but it allows you to excel in life in general. So, you know, the values that I have, it always comes back to Islamic values. And that's just being honest myself, being a good person to everyone, not just only Muslims, but non-Muslims, trying to use my identity as Dawah, as dawah for everyone out there, because the reality is I am seen as a role model in the community and the extended community as well. So, I do my best to display my actions to the best of my ability all the time, because knowing that my role in society, people are always watching me. And in fact, people call, oh, is it, really pressurous? Do you find like, you can't handle it at times? Look, everyone wants to have their own self-time at times. And that's me, that's when sometimes I just go out to the bush for a couple of days and just really just relax and have my own time. But, having people always looking at you is not a bad thing. It's actually, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you steadfast. That, knowing that people are looking at you and they're going to kind of try to emulate your actions. So, I made a decision really very young in my life that, the one thing that I want to do as soon as I get my license is to go to the masjid and perform Isha and Fajr in Jama'ah, in congregation at the masjid, because the reward of it was enormous, praying as if you're praying the whole night. And that always stuck to my mind. And alhamdulillah, till this day, it's with me, you know what I mean? And it's helped me build love for Deen, knowing that everything that you do is an act of worship and you're actually getting rewarded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. So having specific values, I couldn't tell you, but what I do is I just go with the flow and do my best to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you're pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you got the answer to everything in life. So that's my advice to the youth out there. As best as you can, we're human beings and we're sinners. That's the reality. But we obviously got to ask for forgiveness following that sin. Do your best to ride your life, to go with your life by abiding by the Islamic values. And the best way to do it is to look into the way of our Prophet ﷺ, the greatest example that has ever existed, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
Allah musta'an. This year, obviously, COVID-19 is the biggest thing that's happening to us. But subhanallah, earlier this year in 2020, we were hit with the tragedy of the bushfires. But alhamdulillah, we raised some money for relief in regards to that. But this is like a group initiative. So my question is, what other efforts do you recommend for the youth and especially youth groups to accomplish in order to better our society, and as you are, inshallah, be an inspiration to others?
Yeah, subhanAllah. I just, I love it when I see young Muslim groups gather together for a greater purpose in life, for a greater cause. And, this initiative for the bushfires is outstanding. And subhanAllah, even when I was thinking about it, subhanAllah, when I was in Umrah at the time, January, late December, early January, and I seen my local mosque in Newport go towards the affected victims and physically go there and drop off goods and show them Islam from a beauty. And I actually got really, really jealous. Mind you, I was at the greatest place, in Mecca, but yeah, I was jealous because I wanted to be there. I wanted to show support. I wanted to show people this is Islam. Islam is a religion of giving, of caring and loving. And I said, subhanAllah, if we get that opportunity to go back, I'm going to put my hand up. Even if it's a 5 or 6 hour drive, I'm going to go and show my support. And subhanAllah, 2 weeks later after I arrived, there was an opportunity to go back and deliver more goods. And we went, and I felt really, really good about it. And it was a time I wanted people to know who I was. And it's not because I want people to know who Bachar Houli was, but I wanted people to know that Bachar Houli as the Muslim, as the person that cares, loves. Because in reality, when people look at Bachar Houli today in a football perspective, the one thing they always revert back to is Islamic values. So I wanted people to know that this is Islam. This is not an action from within myself. This is all from Allah, and this is the way, this is the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. Helping people, especially when they're in need, helping them, giving them relief. So I commend you for your efforts, and this is it's a fantastic initiative. And subhanAllah, like I said, I always love seeing groups who are always proactive and always looking for ways to give back and to educate others. So just keep up the great work, man. Just keep up the great work. Keep this strong bond, that you have. and subhanallah, this brotherhood will only make you stronger as a Muslim ummah. You know what I mean? So, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. Keep doing what you're doing. Do not let anyone break you, put you down, because this is the plan of shaitan. So, yeah, keep up the good work. I've never personally been involved in a certain group, but I see it. I like to. I don't know, how do I say? I like to kind of oversee everything. You know, if I need to come in and give someone a bit of input, I chip in a little bit. But yeah, I'm more of a general overseer of everything. But I see young groups doing fantastic work, and I'm sure your group right there is doing some sensational work through obviously helping others, and you know, more importantly, helping yourself, because you know we live in tough times, and no doubt we're going to be tested, and we'll always be tested. That is just the simple nature of being human beings. So keep this unity together and help each other, particularly when times get tough. All right, there'll be times where individuals will step away. You'll find that they'll kind of you know, drift off a little bit. A true brother who loves his brother will pull this brother up and bring him back in and show care and love for him as well. So yeah, there are many benefits for these little groups, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sorry, Brother Bashar. I just wanted to ask, do we have time for questions or from the
absolutely.
audience?
Yeah, of course, inshallah.
Okay, so one of the participants asks for some da'wah techniques or da'wah advice.
Yeah, subhanallah. Like, look, obviously the best form of da'wah is your character. Yeah, and this is not from me. This is from your Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was the person that perfected character. You don't have to be the most knowledgeable person. I personally, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. You know the basics, and you can get yourself out of trouble when someone asks you a question. But wallahi, the best form of da'wah is your character. It's the way you handle yourself. Yeah, it's a smile you put on your face, the sadaqah that you know, that's the ultimate reward of it. The way you deal with people, Muslims, non-Muslims, with your family. This is all the best form of da'wah. And if you've got knowledge on top of that, then it's a massive bonus as well. So in terms of techniques, my dear respected brothers, and if there are sisters, of course, is try to perfect or be the best possible person you can be through your character. And like I said before, you know, simple actions of smiling and make that a good habit. You know, respecting others, whether they're, you know, older or younger, being patient, especially when you get angry. These type of characteristics are very important. Yeah, that's something I always encourage my academy students. If you want to show people Islam, show Islam through your actions, through your character, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. All right, Bismillah. As we know, the Quran is the most divine aspect of our lives. So I've actually received this request quite a lot. Brother Bashar, could you please enlighten us with the recitation of the Quran?
Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس الأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون صدق الله العظيم جزاك الله خير.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Brother Bashar. That was alhamdulillah, beautiful. Are we good for some more questions from the audience?
Yeah, brother, go ahead.
All right, Bismillah. One of the audience members asks, Salam, how can our youth make the Quran as one of their best friends?
I don't know if you've got some better advice. I'm happy to take it, man. No, wallah, subhanAllah, I've always been passionate about the Quran. Something I've always been taught from a young age, going to an Islamic school, which helped a lot. But you know, there's got to be some sort of self-motivation for it and self-love for it as well. So yeah, subhanAllah, when I was younger, I would always recite the Quran. And I used to always get encouragement from people. Oh, mashallah, you got a nice voice. You know, if you fix your tajweed and you get to learn this and learn that, you know, yeah, it's a beauty thing to have. And that kind of motivated me. Like, you know what, I want to go hard. I want to learn more. And I was just self-motivated through learning more, memorizing more. Yeah, so subhanAllah, it was all about positive reinforcement from other people. But look, some people just haven't kind of like, you know, it's something that they haven't got as a gift, which is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not defined about how beautiful your voice is or how good your tajweed is. It's about the heart and how pure it is and how much love you have for Quran. You know, we've got people that have got the most beautiful voice out there, but yet it doesn't pierce through their heart. It just pretty much just rolls off the tongue. So I think the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, one of the first 3 people that enter the 5 hell is the one that memorizes or learns the Quran and does it for showing off. You know, this is a person that, you know, just used to recite for the Quran for showing off and stuff for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one of the things that I always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not make me amongst those who, you know, are out there to recite the Quran to get praise of people. And I'm always hesitant to recite Quran in front of people because of this, because I fear it. But then you've got individuals say, no, you should always recite the Quran. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you something, then, you know, obviously it's fine to use it to your advantage, to motivate others, of course. So subhanAllah, everything comes down to intention. To give you techniques or ways to love the Quran, subhanAllah, I just I don't have an exact way, man. What I do is, all I've done is I've been very consistent in my recitation of the Quran. And what I've done is I've always said to myself, every single night, a minimum of 2 pages of recitation before I go to bed. And alhamdulillah, that's been going for many, many years. And, you know, there's times I've always wanted to up it a little bit. I up it to 3 or 4 pages, and I find myself, I drop back to 2 pages. So I said, you know what? I'll stick and stay consistent with 2 pages. You know what I mean? Not in Ramadan. Ramadan is different, of course. You know, obviously we recite more. And then when you're in Hajj and when you got more spare time, you recite Quran, but a bare minimum of 2 pages. So try to get into a consistent routine where you're reciting Quran. And you might be a fluent reciter, and it might be 5 pages, 10 pages. But you know what? Getting into a simple habit of reciting some form of the Quran every day, wallahi, it'll actually make you love the Quran even more. It will build so much more love for the Quran, because you find yourself that when you don't do it, it's like there's a massive part of your life that's missing. And that's how I feel. Like there'll be times, for example, I will be like on a camping trip, for example, and I'll be occupied and busy, and then I'll get to the end of the night, I'll be so tired, and I'll just go straight to sleep. wallahi, the next day I feel like, well, you know what, something massive is missing out of my life. And I realized that I didn't recite my 2 pages of Quran. Do you know what I mean? It might not sound a lot to people, but Prophet said to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a deed that is consistent rather than something that fluctuates, that is, you know, obviously so high and then goes missing for a while. Try to be very consistent with deen in general. And when it comes to Quran, even if it means half a page, try to implement that in your life, particularly after the month of Ramadan. We're always pumped during this time. We read so many pages and, you know, tilawa and, you know, khatmi after khatma. Yeah, try to be consistent with your Quran, even if it means half a page every night.
Jazakallah khair. Another participant asks, what is a way we can portray Islam when doing local sports, like in a club?
Yeah, I think just being true to your character. Like, you don't have to go out there and stand up on the pedestal and, yeah, this is Islam, 5 pillars, shahada, salat. We don't have to do that, man. Like I said before, the best form of da'wah is through your character, through your actions. You know what I mean? Look, alhamdulillah, I've got a beard, and for some people, they can't probably grow beards. So, so people like know you're different, and they ask you questions like, for example, oh, how can you grow your beard? You know, why is it so long and stuff like that? And it creates conversation. But it's all about how you mingle with people, how you use, you know, wisdom with people, and you teach them. Obviously, this is a sunnah. This is something that our Prophet ﷺ did, and we try our best to emulate his actions. You know, of course, we're not going to be the perfect human being like the way he was, but to be the best, you've got to follow the best. You know what I mean? So, you know, it might be something very small, but it's simply practicing and following in his way. Or the way of his life. So, like I said before, man, just simple da'wah through your character, through smiling to people, and then hopefully from that it creates conversation. Because no doubt you'll get that opportunity sometimes, you know, on a table where you're sitting down, where you've got quality time. I find it all the time when I travel interstate with my teammates. We find like we have dinner, we finish dinner, we're sitting, we're mingling, and then an Islamic question pops up. You know, wherever it may be about halal food, it may be about fasting, it may be about salat, whatever it is, and it just creates conversation. Believe me, the people out there, they're hungry for knowledge. They're hungry for something that, I guess, you know, I feel like that it's like they've got something missing in their life. And when you show how much you love and how happy you are doing what you're doing, people envy that and they want to hear it. You know what I mean? That's the reality of most people. They haven't heard it. All they've heard is the incorrect information about Islam. So it's up to us as ambassadors of Islam, whether you're a footballer, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a student or a person that goes to university. We've got a role to play. So we've got to do our best to give da'wah through our actions first and foremost. And then if we've got the knowledge to back it up, then obviously back it up with that knowledge, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah, inshallah.
Maybe one more question, inshallah.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. A participant asks, what was your best moment in your career?
Best moment, subhanallah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the 2017 grand final, I reckon. Like, that was the first grand final that we won. Because it's the first, subhanallah, always the first feels special. And then when you have something, it's like when you have a kid, for the brothers that have got kids, or you know, they've got if they've got older brothers and sisters, they've got kids, they find that the first one is always far greater than the rest. I mean, not saying they don't love the rest, but there's always a special feeling about the first. And I think when I reflect back to that grand final, it's always a greater feeling because you've never tasted it before. But you know what? Subhanallah, like, it's a great feeling. But I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know. I just maybe I take life just like the success that you get through life is just it's just like a stepping stone. I don't really you know, even when I'm on the grand final, it felt good at the time. But you know, you go home that night and you realise, mind you, I was at home at 11 p.m. that night. All the boys were out partying, drinking, etc. And whatnot, but obviously stuck to my values. I was home at 11 p.m. at night. I was sitting down by the couch, and I thought to myself, and what next? SubhanAllah, I've just achieved the biggest achievement in football, and I'm like to myself, like, what next? What next? SubhanAllah. So this is dunya for you, man. SubhanAllah. So, but look, I never take that for granted, because I love what I do, because the fact that the opportunity I have for da'wah, I'll never take that for granted. And that's the only reason, wallahi, the only reason why I keep going today. Because the longer you are in this field, the more effect you're going to have to people or around you. So, inshallah, we'll hang on as long as we can from a da'wah perspective. When it comes to enjoying football and that, I like it. It's okay. It's just a job for me, to be quite honest. But I'm far more passionate about using this quality time, particularly towards the end of my career, to fire out da'wah as much as I can. I've been doing it through actions for a long, long time. But now I'm actually trying to do it with words, and trying to educate, and trying to get people to think beyond, just, this person that smiles, that tries to be humble, that is generous. You know what I mean? What I do is I try to encourage them. I always said to my teammates, I said, if you want success in life, if you want success in your football, and you want to become this best football player, you need to have something that is far more greater than football. So in other words, a greater purpose in life than football. Because I find a lot of my teammates out there, their whole life is football. And I said to them, you just can't rely on football, because the reality is that football can go down tomorrow. You can suffer a big injury, you can get delisted, your contract might be up, you might be down on form, okay? What else do you have to fall back on? And I said, this is the beauty about what I follow. I have a greater purpose in life, worshipping one God. Whenever things are down from a football and a life perspective, I always come back and revert back to my deen and my relationship and the connection that I have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know what? I find my answers. So, alhamdulillah for that. And so, like I said, I go far greater now and teach them about thinking about a greater purpose. And I always try to refer it back to faith and the deen of Islam. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Brother Bashar. Your presence is really an honor. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions, inshallah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Alhamdulillah. Now I'll hand the mic over to Brother Saifullah, inshallah.
No worries, bro. Always a pleasure seeing you, bro. Look after yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Bashar, and also Saad, for going through these questions. Actually, I particularly like that your response to that last question. I guess, especially, for the general public, it's easy to get caught up in your day-to-day activities and day-to-day work. But I think as Muslims, we need to remember our true purpose. So I think, especially for our youth, I think it's a very good, statement to make for all of us to live by, inshallah, remembering our true purpose. So again, once again, Jazakallah khairan, Brother Bashar, for giving us some insightful answers, and also, So once again, look, I'll take this opportunity to, just some acknowledgements. So obviously, I'd like to extend thank you to Brother Bashar for joining us today. I'd also like to thank YMB New South Wales, especially Brother Abid, who is working in the background today, for his amazing work and making sure that this live stream is running. Also, I'd like to thank Brother Nabil from YMB Victoria for creating that excellent introduction video. Of course, I'd also like to extend a thank you to our elders at our parent organization, IPDC, Islamic Practice and Dawah Circle, for your ongoing support of our activities, especially Brother Munir Zaman, the Secretary General of IPDC, who initiated the first contact with Brother Bashar to come and, come and catch up with us tonight, as well as the rest of the IPDC Central leadership. And finally, I'd like to thank all of our live audience today for joining in and participating and posting some of your own questions as well. So just to end off, remember that we are broadcasting regular live events throughout Ramadan on both the YMB and the IPDC Facebook pages, as well as the Facebook pages of our masjids. So please, like both of these pages to attend future online events. You can also check out past events there as well. And also, of course, please do look out for our future events, inshallah. If you would like to sort of get involved with YMB and IPDC, as we have a presence across each state, as well as the ACT, feel free to reach out to us for details. So with that, we'll conclude our program, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan again, once again, everyone for joining in, and also to you, Brother Bashar.
Well, yeah, all the best. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.